Hi, so super quick, before the video starts, before the little podcast starts, I have an announcement to make about this show. About a week ago, I had somebody tell me about this thing called Anchor. And if you don't know what Anchor is a podcast creation and distribution platform. It's both an app and a website. And we are now putting this podcast through Anchor, which will distribute this podcast through like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a bunch of other websites. So this podcast will now be available wherever you normally get your regular podcast from, so you don't have to keep coming to YouTube anymore to get it. And that goes into what I'm about to say next, and is that after this Friday show, so this coming Friday, after that show, this podcast will no longer be available on YouTube. We will be exclusively wherever you normally get your podcast from. And I know that seems sudden, and I know it sucks, and I really am sorry, but I think going forward, distributing it through Anchor, which will, set it up through Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and like Crashbox, I think is supported too, is a better way to help grow this podcast and maybe make it into something eventually. So I know it sucks, and I know it's sudden, and I really am sorry. But I think that's the best move going forward. So after Friday's show, this will no longer be on YouTube. I just wanted to give you a heads up, and I will remind you Friday in case you missed this one. But there is a link down below in the description box down there for you YouTube folks to the Anchor profile for this podcast, which should also show you where else this thing is supported on. So you can just pick and choose whichever one best suits you. So once again, thank you for your patience, and thank you for always listening. And your continued support would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Without further ado, let's get on with the show. And welcome back to the NFLandU podcast. I'm your host, as always, Hayden Vassar, and it's a Monday, February 3rd. And wow, that was a pretty fun Super Bowl, wasn't it? I mean, wow, I'm sitting here. It's like 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm still excited about it. It was fun. Voice is a little raspy because I got too excited last night, but hey, it was a fun ride. And we're going to go super in-depth into the Super Bowl here in a second. We'll also do some news at the end of the show, and that's all we really got planned for today on this Super Bowl recap edition of the podcast. But jumping back into it, it was a fun Super Bowl, wasn't it? We're going to do things a bit different for this last recap of the year. We're going to go through it chronologically as the Super Bowl unfolded, just kind of reliving the whole experience that, like, for a lot of people, it was like a 5 to 6 hour experience depending on when your game day actually started. Like, for example, I'd been watching wall-to-wall pregame coverage since, like, I woke up at 9 a.m. yesterday. So by the time the game finally kicked off at, 6:40, I was beyond ready for this thing to be over. And before the game started, it was a nice little, festivity kind of thing. It was a really great touch having the NFL All 100 team that they had revealed on the NFL Network a couple weeks earlier out for, the beginning of the game. That was very nice and symbolic because, it's the 100th season and all this and that. It was very, very nice and cool and all that, and to be able to point at all these great players that came before. Right before, the biggest game of the year. It was very nice. It was a very great artistic touch. Then they had those kids running onto the field that felt like it was a commercial. Then it came onto the field, that whole delivering the game ball thing. That was pretty nice too, huh? Yeah, that was pretty freaking cool. So anyway, Chiefs won the toss. No, it was the 49ers who won the toss, if I remember correctly. And they chose to defer, which means the Chiefs get the ball to start the game. 49ers kick off, Chiefs get the ball. And even though we didn't talk about it on Friday's show, I was wondering a little bit if the Chiefs were going to have another slow start like they had in the Texans game and they had in the Titans game. And if you were just watching the first drive, it started to feel like a bit of a slow start because the Chiefs went 3 and out just like that. And you're like, uh-oh, here comes another slow start for your Kansas City Chiefs. But it was a quick 3 and out, wasted about a minute off the clock, and they give the ball to the 49ers. And the 49ers had a nice drive going. They were getting field goal range. They wasted about 5 minutes and 58 seconds off the clock. You're going to see that as a running theme throughout the Super Bowl. It was a joke on Twitter. Somebody said it was like the most time efficient Super Bowl of all time, which I loved because I love the idea that this game was over before 10:30 because I live on the East Coast. So they give the ball back to the 49ers, who put together a 10-play drive that goes 62 yards and eats up 5 minutes and 58 seconds of the clock. 49ers are able to get into field goal range. They're using Tevin Coleman, who was healthy and was able to go. They were using Raheem Mostert. They were running every which way. They were keeping the defense on their heels, and they got into field goal range. They were able to kick a field goal. Drew first blood, got up 3-0 with about 9 minutes left in the first quarter. And you're thinking, okay. 49ers moved a little bit, but the KC defense, they held strong. Then they punt the ball back to the Chiefs, who get the ball back. And the Chiefs said, okay, we had that, 3 and out, but we ain't done here. Because the Chiefs then put together a 15-play, 75-yard drive that eats up 7.5 minutes of game clock and ends with a Patrick Mahomes rushing touchdown. It was beautiful. It was effective. It kept the defense on their heels. And they had that great play when they got to the goal line, when they all span around in the backfield. It's like they hit the spin button early. Oh, it was beautiful. Oh, it was just so electric. But it showed that, hey, even if the 49ers defense plays good, Patrick Mahomes can still hurt them. He can still make things a problem. But that was, on that drive, I think that's when I started noticing, hey, that 49ers defensive line is really starting to get after Mahomes. Like, oh no, they're really getting after him. And he was able to get the ball off and move it well, but it was something to keep an eye on because, like it or not, this 49ers defensive line is the best in the league. Undoubtedly. I mean, the entire defensive line is built with nothing but first-round draft pick after first-round draft pick after first-round draft pick. I mean, Nick Bosa was the best guy in his draft class the year he came out. But it was something that got on my radar, but it wasn't really affecting the game yet. Keyword, yet. So the Chiefs, like I said, they put together that long drive, got the touchdown. Now they're up 7-3, about halfway through the fourth. I mean, not the fourth. Oh, God, no. About halfway through the first. Lower first at this point. And the 49ers get the ball back. And it was the first big mistake from Jimmy Garoppolo that we've seen in the playoffs, if I remember correctly. He hasn't had a big mistake like this so far. Threw an interception on the next drive. A 3-play drive. They went less than 20 yards, ate up about a minute and a half. Throws an interception. If I remember correctly, it really wasn't Jimmy G's fault on that interception throw. But he gets picked off, and you're thinking, oh, no, here come the Chiefs now. Now they have all this, momentum. They're going to be just fine. Because I think at that point, by the time Jimmy had thrown that interception, he had already thrown more passes than he had thrown in the NFC Championship game. So Twitter was already rife with jokes of, oh, Jimmy can't throw more than 9 passes or else he'll throw interceptions. Which felt like a bit much, but still. So, Chiefs now have the ball after this Jimmy Garoppolo interception, which was a great play by the defender. But they go on a little bit of a drive, 9 plays, 43 yards, 4 minutes and 36 seconds. I'm looking at my notes here. They're eating up, each drive in this game ate up so much time. Like, we're well into the second quarter at this point. Well into the second quarter. But here's the thing. 49ers defense got a big stop in this drive. They held the Chiefs to a field goal, which was massive. You throw an interception and you let this dominant Chiefs offense drive into your portion of the field and you only hold them to a field goal. That's pretty dang good. You're only down 7. You don't have to deviate from your game plan. You can still run your offense. You got plenty of time left in this half, to run your stuff, and you get the ball to start the second half. 49ers are sitting in great position. And in fact, I remarked out loud while I was sitting on my couch with my family, 49ers make one big play, they're right back in this freaking thing. So Chiefs now go up 10-3 after the field goal. 49ers get the ball back, and their offense, to this point, it was having a little bit of trouble moving, if you could remember correctly. The running game, it was kind of getting things done, but kind of not. Deebo Samuel, the rookie wide receiver, was really the workhorse for, the early part of this game. He felt like the only thing that was going right for the 49ers offense Was Deebo Samuel maybe coming in on the backfield with a run or just a quick pass? It was just all Deebo Samuel. So 49ers are now just trying to get anything going, and they're starting at their own 20, down 7, with about halfway through the second quarter. And they put together a pretty freaking good drive. Jimmy G starts making some good passes, hits another one to Deebo Samuel for 16 yards. And then Raheem Mostert up the middle for like 11 yards. And then he hits Deebo Samuel again for 11 yards. But then they get to the red zone, and that's when the ultimate weapon, the long extinct fullback position, comes into play as Jimmy Garoppolo hits Kyle Juszczyk on a 15-yard pass up the middle for a touchdown with about 5 minutes left in the second quarter. And then Robbie Gould hits it through the uprights, and we got a tie game at 10. And you're thinking, wow, that was just what the doctor ordered for the 49ers. It was some great play calling by Shanahan, some beautiful dots and dimes by Jimmy GQ, who really bounced back great from that interception, showed you that he can still ball, and we got a tie game in the Super Bowl. Now, at this point, I saw some people complaining on Twitter, like, where are the fireworks? Why isn't this game so high scoring? And I'm sitting there at 10-10 thinking, this is like a great game. I'm loving what I'm seeing from both teams. It was like the most excited I've ever been watching a 10-10 game in my life. It was fun. I remarked out loud, I think after the first field goal when the 49ers went up 3-0, this is already better than the Rams and Patriots Super Bowl. So now the game's tied at 10-10. Chiefs get the ball back. All right, you got about 5 minutes left in the second quarter, so maybe the Chiefs can get something here. If the 49ers can get a stop, maybe they can get some more points before halftime. Chiefs put together a small drive, about 7 plays, but they eat up 4 minutes of game clock, which means the 49ers get some kind of shot. You're right. You're thinking they got like a minute left, but they're starting around their own 20. There's a lot of people who would rather just, kneel it and go to halftime. But I'm going to be honest. I sat there and watched what Kyle Shanahan was doing right before halftime. I still don't know what he was trying to do. I think they were trying to just run the clock out, but Andy Reid called a timeout on third down. So Kyle Shanahan realized he had to do something. Then all of a sudden they're like close to field goal range. It was a lot going on at one time. And now people have been dissecting it all night long and this morning, and they're saying if Kyle Shanahan had just been more aggressive, maybe the 49ers would have won the game. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and second guess what happened at halftime, because there was a lot that happened in the second half that I think really decided the game. But I'm not going to overtly question what happened right before halftime. If he didn't want to go for it and risk it, I understand it. But I always think that fortune favors the bold. At any rate, 49ers get the ball back with like 50 seconds left. Don't do anything with it right before halftime. And we go in tied at 10-10. And we're set up for a really great second half. Now, first half, fun. Exciting. Very quick, though. I was sitting there thinking, good Lord, this game might end before 10 o'clock. And I got very, very excited. I don't know why, but I was pumped. Mainly because I'm an old man and like to go to bed early. So, goes into halftime, tied 10-10. And the thing about the Super Bowl halftime is it's a lot longer than normal halftimes. Normal halftimes, 15 minutes. Super Bowl halftimes, you're thinking about 30 to 45 minutes. It's a lot longer. You got to put yourself in this kind of weird position, to still be in the zone, not get out of it, but still, try to take a breather. It's a very odd position to find yourself in. So we go to halftime, they cut to the Fox halftime show with, Jimmy and Terry and Howie and the gang, who are great, by the way. I love those guys. And then they go to, J-Lo and Shakira. And I'm going to be real with you. I don't listen to Shakira's music. I just don't. I never got into it, or J-Lo's. But, if you had told me to pick Shakira out of a crowd before last night, if you had lined up a bunch of people and told me Shakira is in this crowd, now pick her out, I wouldn't be able to do it. I really wouldn't. I didn't know what she looked like. But I know what she looks like now. They had a really great show. I'm going to be honest. I really liked it. And that's coming from someone who really doesn't like Super Bowl halftime shows. Someone had to remind me Adam Levine was in last year's halftime show. That's how forgetful I am with the halftime shows. I liked it. It was pretty good. personal reasons, the best Super Bowl halftime show I ever saw was Beyonce and Bruno Mars. That was my favorite one that I've seen live, but I think the best one that's ever happened was when Prince was in Miami and he did the Purple Rain, In the Rain. That was so freaking cool. I didn't watch that one live, but I've seen it, and it's freaking awesome. That's the best one, but I really think J-Lo and Shakira really had a really, really good performance. And, man, they weren't lying. Those hips really don't lie. Sweet Jesus, good Lord. So like I said, it was a fun halftime show, and it ate up a lot of time. And it was fun. I had fun. So, like I said, 30 to 45 minutes. It's a weird thing to be sitting through, and you're trying to, football people are creatures of habit, and this is throwing them out of habit. So it's interesting to see how they would come out and how they would respond. A lot is always made about coming out of the Super Bowl halftime because, it's so different for players. So, start of the second half. 49ers get the ball. And Kyle Shanahan, once again, he's getting tricky with the play calling and the scheming. And their opening drive goes 9 plays, 60 yards, 5 minutes and 31 seconds off the game clock, kick another field goal. That KC defense is just refusing to break. They are just, not giving anything up. Ultimate definition of bend but don't break was that KC defense last night. I mean, good Lord, people. So now, 49ers regain the lead. They're up 3 with a little under 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. And you're thinking, all right, still a close game. Chiefs still have a chance. Then a first-timer happened. A first-timer happened. Chiefs get the ball back, run some plays, moving some yardage or wasting some clock. Patrick Mahomes throws an interception. Now, it really wasn't his best thrown ball, and at this point, he is absolutely besieged by the defensive line. They are getting back there on almost every freaking play. I mean, good Lord, this man is having to do it all by himself. It is ridiculous, and they are after him almost every play. And if I remember correctly, he kind of threw it behind the wide receiver, and it gets picked off. And that was the first time he's thrown an interception his entire playoff career, dating back to last year. That was his first ever postseason interception. So it gets picked off, and you're thinking, oh, that's a big, big miscue by Mahomes. 49ers get the ball back, off the interception. 6 plays, 55 yards. They move it quick. It was probably one of their quicker scoring drives of the night. 2 minutes and 48 seconds, and they cap it off with, I'm looking at the scoring drive here, a Raheem Mostert 1-yard touchdown rush after, some quick passes by Jimmy Garoppolo to get him downfield. And extra point by Robbie Gould is good, and now all of a sudden, what was just a 3-point lead has now suddenly ballooned into a 10-point lead for the 49ers with about 2:35 left to play in the third quarter. And at that point, I wasn't really pulling for either team. I was just trying to enjoy the show. And I wasn't worried for the Chiefs. I was like, it's only 10 points. There's still a ton of time left. The Chiefs are sitting pretty with the offense they have. But Mahomes wasn't playing his best game at that point. He could not get any protection going. And it was just momentum was starting to really just shift in favor of the 49ers at this point. Because they just put together a 10-0 run in the third quarter, and they would maintain that way. And now they're in the fourth quarter, going into the fourth quarter because the Chiefs have the ball and start driving. They're going into the fourth quarter, double-digit lead. They have arguably at minimum, top 2 defense in the league, best defensive line, best passing defense. Odds are starting to look incredibly slim for the Kansas City Chiefs, if you catch my drift. Now, like I said, Chiefs get the ball back, and they're starting to put together a drive. They're having trouble getting things going, though, because Mahomes is just being besieged by Bosa, by Buckner. It is just hard to get anything going at this point for poor Patrick Mahomes. They put together a 12-play drive that goes 52 yards and eats up 5 minutes and 38 seconds. So now we're well into the fourth quarter at this point, a couple minutes in. And that's when the truly unthinkable happens. Mahomes throws another interception. That was the moment where I started having doubt. I texted my friend Chance, my good friend Chance. I said, oh God, the 49ers are about to win this game, aren't they? Because at that point it felt like, oh no, this is very, very bad. They just had all the momentum in the world. It was less than 10 minutes left to go in the game. You had just picked off Mahomes for the second time in this half. And you got a double-digit lead. And now you're about to unleash this heavy run game and just uncork it on some people. This game felt like it was about to get out of hand, and the 49ers were about to just choke the life out of the Chiefs. But, as fate would have it, the Chiefs defense stepped up on the next drive, on that 49ers ensuing drive. 49ers ensuing drive, you ready? 5 plays, 17 yards, 3 minutes off the clock, and they punted. Big step up by the Chiefs. At that point, it was the first time the 49ers had punted all night long, if I remember correctly. It was the first time they'd punted all night long, and it couldn't have come at a better time for the Chiefs. So now the Chiefs get the ball back, and they need points. They don't necessarily need a touchdown. They're still only down 10, but less than 9 minutes to go. They need something here. And they're trying to get something going. They're just trying, just anything to get anything going at all. And at this point, it's Mahomes doing some quick passes. There's some penalties involved, and it falls to 3rd and 15. Less than 7:30 in the game. 3rd and 15 at the Kansas City 35-yard line. If Kansas City doesn't pick it up here, it is very, very no bueno. It is very bad. But Mahomes pulls out some patented magic and just uncorks a ball deep down the left-hand side of the field for Tyreek Hill for a 44-yard pickup. And that was the moment. That was the moment when gears started shifting a bit. Because before that point, by the time that drive started for the Chiefs, the 49ers were sitting at about a 95% win probability ratio. According to, what was it, ESPN? 49ers basically had this thing in the bag. But that was the moment. That was the tiny spark that the Chiefs needed. Now, they're suddenly in San Francisco territory. They're in the red zone. Now, a couple incomplete passes later, there was an incomplete pass to Travis Kelce in the end zone that got called for pass interference that I really didn't agree with at the time. It wasn't egregiously bad, but I was like, I don't really dig that one. But anyway, it sets up the Chiefs on the 1 yard line. A quick pass to Travis Kelce a second later, and all of a sudden, it's a Chiefs touchdown with 6:13 left to play, and a Harrison Butker field goal makes it a 3-point game with just a little over 6 minutes left. And you can just feel the tension going through the roof because the Chiefs are here now. Oh yeah, that offense is clicking now. So the 49ers need to do something. And a lot of people will point to that later drive where they turned the ball over on the 4th down. This drive by the 49ers right here, where they went 3 plays, 5 yards, ate up a minute of clock and punted, I think was a true momentum changer. That was when the game truly shifted. That was the moment it went completely off the rails for the 49ers. They needed something. They needed just like a big play to keep the clock running, just to eat up clock, and they couldn't get it. Chiefs get a massive stop, turn the ball over, and it's at that point it's just completely shifted in favor. The game is completely shifted. I know they're only down 3, and I know they got a big lead. But for Patrick Mahomes and that offense, being down 3 is like the equivalent of being tied with other teams. It is nothing. Chiefs get the ball back, and they're working quick. I'm talking quick. 7 plays, 65 yards, 2.5 minutes, touchdown. Just like that. What was a 10-point lead about 5 minutes ago in the game is now suddenly a 4-point lead for the Chiefs. Capped off by a Damian Williams touchdown pass from Patrick Mahomes where he just skirted Just barely got in there by inches, and I'm talking inches. I'm sitting there looking at it like, I don't know if he got in. But that was Damian Williams' second touchdown of the night. Oh, it was his first. It was his first. We'll get to the second here in a second, but that was his first. And now all of a sudden, with about 2:40 left in the game, Chiefs are up 4, and the 49ers are panicking a little bit. They're panicking because their offense hasn't done jack since the fourth quarter started. And then here was kind of the nail in the coffin for the 49ers offense. They get the ball back, and they're trying to get something going. They have this tiny little drive that goes 7 plays, 27 yards, about a minute 20. And there was on third down, it was they had a deep shot to Emmanuel Sanders deep down the middle on third down, on 3rd and 10 from the 49. And I'm telling you, Jimmy Garoppolo had Emmanuel Sanders. He had him, and that was going to be a touchdown. He just overthrew him a bit. Just a bit. But in defense of Jimmy Garoppolo, who really did not have a good fourth quarter, who went for like 3 of 11, an interception, and like 30 yards in the fourth quarter, which is really, really bad. Very, very few quarterbacks would have made that throw into double coverage. Not like the decision, but could have like pulled that throw off into double coverage, deep down the middle, like a 45-plus yard throw. It was a very tough throw, but he had him. And that's really going to keep 49er fans up at night. That Emmanuel Sanders had that touchdown. He had it. It just sailed over his head. Then on the ensuing 4th down, 4th and 10 from the 49, Jimmy Garoppolo gets sacked. They call in the grass, which I hate in the grass calls, but it was the right call there. Jimmy Garoppolo gets sacked. It's a turnover on downs for the Chiefs, who now have the ball with less than a minute 30 left. And I'm thinking, all right, Andy Reid's about to run this clock out, baby. He's about to run this clock out, and the Chiefs are going to win this game. They just got to waste the timeouts. But what happens instead? Damian Williams hits a 38-yard rushing touchdown. Oh, they hit a dagger in the heart of the 49er defense, who have struggled to stop run games this entire year. Damian Williams goes off for his second touchdown of the game to basically ice it. Now the Chiefs are up 11 points super late in the fourth quarter, but it's technically not over yet because it's a minute 12. 49ers still have their timeouts. So they're technically still alive, but it's a pretty close to dead. But the unfortunate part now happens next on the 49ers' final drive, because Jimmy Garoppolo threw 2 passes, one was incomplete, and the other one got picked off by Kendall Fuller, who said, "Give me that ball." Oh, he just robbed that poor wide receiver. He robbed Deebo Samuel of that pass. He just reached down there and yacked it. Jimmy Garoppolo throws the second interception of the game, and that was all she wrote for the 49ers, who end their season a heartbreak. Chiefs run down the rest of the clock, and the Chiefs are your Super Bowl 54 champions, winning 31-20 in an absolute thriller. That was a great game, my dudes. It was just really fun to watch it, but you know, I've seen a lot of people give Kyle Shanahan some hate online, but looking back at it, sure, maybe they really abandoned the run in the fourth quarter when you're up 10 points. Maybe you should have stuck with it. Maybe. I'm not sure, but for most of the game, you know, the two teams were kind of equal. I mean, coming out of halftime, scores tied, total yardage is about tied. They had the 49ers they had the Chiefs to a certain extent for most of the game, but maybe, you know, they should have stuck with the run in the fourth quarter a bit more. Maybe. I'm not sure, but it's just, I really think it doesn't matter who the Chiefs went up against in this game. They were winning this game. They're just that good. And Mahomes is such a special talent. I mean, they have literally come back from double-digit deficits in every playoff game this year. Down 20-plus versus the Texans. Down 10-plus twice against the Titans. And now down double digits in the fourth quarter against a great defense. It does not matter who they went up against. They were winning this damn game. They just outscored the 49ers 21-0 in the fourth quarter. It was just stunning. It was unique. It was a true coronation into how great Patrick Mahomes really is. Uh, in all honesty, Patrick Mahomes didn't even have that good of a game. I mean, I know they gave him the MVP award, but he didn't have that great of a game. Let me read you his stat line. 26 of 42, 286 yards, two passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 4 sacks, and he rushed 9 times for 29 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. So 3 total touchdowns in a game where he really didn't play that well, in my opinion. I know he won the MVP award, but in my honest opinion, Damian Williams should be your Super Bowl 54 MVP. Let's give it up for Damian freaking Williams. 17 rushes, 104 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, then 4 catches for 29 yards, 1 receiving touchdown. My man went off. That's the man that should have won Super Bowl MVP in Damian Williams. Then, of course, you had Tyreek Hill factoring in for 9 catches at 105 yards. And Sammy Watkins continues to suddenly reemerge just like he did in the AFC Championship game. 5 catches, 98 yards for the Chiefs offense. It was there was no stopping this Chiefs offense. I know they slowed them down early, but once they started clicking, it was all she wrote. For the 49ers, they struggled to really get their run game going outside of Deebo Samuel, who was like their 3rd leading rusher with 3 carries for 53 yards. Jimmy Garoppolo went 20 of 31 for 219 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and 1 sack. They didn't have any wide receiver get above 50 yards for the 49ers. But, yeah, they really abandoned the run game in the fourth quarter when they were up double digits. They just started throwing the ball a bunch. I think maybe they just started getting scared. Maybe. Here's an interesting stat for you. On 3rd and 4th down, the 49ers went a combined 3 of 9. So they converted about 33%. And the Chiefs on 3rd and 4th down combined went 8 of 17. So a little over, 50%, if I'm doing my math correctly? I love the aggressiveness from Andy Reid, by the way, who went for it on 4th down early and often. It was great. He was outdueling his younger competitor in aggressiveness. It was beautiful. It was truly magnificent to watch. So as the confetti was raining down on, Hard Rock Stadium, Chiefs are celebrating for the first time in 50 years. It was a beautiful thing. Truly beautiful. Andy Reid finally got the coronation that he has rightfully deserved for so many freaking years, and I was so happy for Andy Reid. Finally got his big moment in the sun. It was nice to see him get handed the trophy. It was nice to see, Mahomes celebrate the greatness that he is, and it's really going to be fun to watch. But, man, watching those 49ers players just jog off the field, they were crying. The guys were just not okay. And then I told you somebody was going to say it. Somebody was going to say the old cliche, and it happened. Jimmy Johnson on Fox was the one who said it. This 49ers team is young. They're talented. They got good coaching. They'll be back here again. He said it. He said the cliche. And I know no 49er fan wants to hear that after what they just went through. Chiefs are now tied for the 2nd largest comeback in Super Bowl history with 10 points. But I really feel bad for Kyle Shanahan. I really do. Because he was that offensive coordinator for the Falcons when they blew a 25-point lead to the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And that sticks with you. And now you're sitting there, you got your own team now. You're up double digits in the 4th quarter. And it happens again? That is rough, buddy. That is rough. Oh, man. But to Jimmy Johnson's point, the 49ers are immensely talented. They're a very young team. They got a lot of talent. And Kyle Shanahan is a truly gifted play caller and coach that any team in this league would be lucky to have. I'm not going to say they're going to be back in the Super Bowl because there's no guarantees in life. But I would be truly stunned if over the next couple of years the 49ers are not a competitive football team. They should be one of the better teams in the NFC for the next couple of years. They are set up for that kind of success. I truly believe that. To the Chiefs, sky's the limit right now. You have the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes. You have one of the best scheme play designers in Andy Reid and one of the best head coaches in Andy Reid, who finally got his big moment in the sun. Your wide receiver core is immense. You could maybe do some upgrades on the offensive line. I bet Patrick Mahomes would really be appreciative of that after last night. Got one of the greatest tight ends in the league on your roster, and your defense is pretty dang good, who refused to break in this game and made some great plays in this one. I will also not say that the Chiefs will be back, because once again, there are no guarantees in life. But they are so talented that this could seriously be the start of a new dynasty for the Kansas City Chiefs. They could win championships, plural, multiple ones. That is how good they are and how great they can be. This could just be the beginning. But for one night, Andy Reid finally got his, and I could have not have been happier. It was such a beautiful moment. So, that was it for Super Bowl Sunday. Chiefs fans are out partying, and 49er fans are crying themselves to sleep at night. But I want to talk a little bit about news. Before that, I want to say, because I talked about this before I put the show on. Before we get to news, I want to say, this was a great Super Bowl, wasn't it? Like, not just the game, like a total package. Like, think about it. Every year, there's always something wrong with the Super Bowl. It's always like, game was good, but the commercials were meh, and the halftime show was just okay. Or the game sucked and the commercials were great, but I didn't care for the halftime show. There's always something wrong with it, right? In my honest opinion, as a total package, everything was great. Commercials, rock solid and good. Some truly great ones, unless you watched that Google one and it made you want to cry. Commercials were great. Game was great. Halftime show was great. As a total package, Super Bowl 54 was great. Everything excelled, and it was phenomenal. I just wanted to say that before I forgot about it. So, now back to news. Because there were a couple things that happened this weekend. You know, there was that whole kerfuffle with the Tom Brady photo on Twitter, and everybody's trying to figure out what's going on with that. But there was some actual news about Tom Brady. Because the Patriots, it was reported on by Ian Rappaport, if I remember correctly, that the Patriots are apparently willing to pay Tom Brady about $30 million a year for him to come back. And I thought, you know what? If they're willing to pay him $30 million, this should really put to bed the idea that Brady is going to leave. Because that's really what he wanted. Because he was, on the kind of lower end spectrum of quarterbacks getting paid because they were always using money elsewhere. But if they're willing to pay him $30 million, then they're probably willing to pay him something like 33. Give him a couple extra to make him happy, because that's really what he's wanting. He's wanting to be paid. One last big paycheck before he rides into the sun. Make sure his family's set up for life, if you know what I'm saying. But that news came out that they're willing to pay him that much. So I really think that the safe bet is that Brady ends up on the Patriots roster next year. I think that's almost a guarantee at this point. If that report is to be believed from Ian Rappaport, if I remember correctly, that's who reported it, that they're willing to pay him $30 million a year to come back and play maybe for 1 or 2 more seasons. But an interesting follow-up report, I think this one was by Adam Schefter, that if Brady does indeed hit the market and becomes a free agent, then there are 2 teams that are interested. The LA Chargers, who people have been linking to him for a while, and the Las Vegas Raiders, which feeds directly into my conspiracy theory that I've had for years that the John Gruden and Derek Carr experience would not work out. Because if Brady does indeed bail and they're going to make a play for him, that really doesn't paint a good picture of Derek Carr now, does it? Now, we know the Chargers are going to be in the quarterback market, and they have a team that can win right now. So, them going after Tom Brady makes sense, doesn't it? Because they're looking to win right freaking now, not 3 years from now with Justin Herbert. But for the Raiders, they really don't have that roster, do they? They don't. I mean, point to their roster and tell me how they win. It's Josh Jacobs. Okay, they got a good, promising rookie running back. And what? Darren Waller, their tight end? Hunter Renfrow, a rookie wide receiver? I mean, they're not exactly loaded on talent, and that may be more just try to be a move to get people in their new stadium next year, if that makes any sense. But apparently, if Tom Brady hits the market, it's the Raiders and Chargers are going to go after him. So it'll be interesting to watch. But like I said, with the Patriots, if it's true that they're willing to pay him $30 million a year, I think it's almost a guarantee Brady will be a New England Patriot next season. Now, we got one more bit of quarterback news to get to, and it's a very interesting one. Dak Prescott. He is apparently not anywhere close to a new deal with the Dallas Cowboys. And he needs a new deal because it's kind of coming up soon. So, Dak Prescott needs a new deal. And in this past offseason, it was rumored that Dak Prescott, he was looking for something in the ballpark of $35 million a year. So just a bit more than Brady. And the Cowboys, they didn't want to give him $35 million a year. They didn't think, nah. They were like, nah, he's not worth it. Then this season happened, and Dak showed some stuff, and he also had some bad points, but in my opinion, he showed enough to warrant $35 million or more a year. Cowboys are apparently still not willing to give him that much. So, over the weekend, there was this weird quote where Dak Prescott said if he gets franchise tagged, he might not show up for training camp. He won't commit to coming. And then on Sunday, it was announced by Ian Rappaport. He reported that, hey, it looks like Cowboys are leaning towards franchise tagging Dak Prescott if they can't come to a deal soon. And it sounds like they're not anywhere close to a deal. And that's troublesome. Because what the Cowboys don't realize is that Patrick Mahomes is about to get a new deal. And you're thinking, what does that have to do with Dak Prescott? Well, here's the thing. Patrick Mahomes is going to get a deal that is going to make all other quarterback deals look small by comparison. He is going to set records for how much money he's going to get. It's going to be that big. And the thing about the quarterback market in the NFL, it never goes down. It always goes up. Up, 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 up. It never, ever goes down. So, when Mahomes resets the market, presumably this offseason with a new deal, Dak Prescott's going to look at that and say, okay, that's how much Mahomes is worth. I'm going to come in just under that. So that's kind of an incentive. You want to get this done before that happens, before Prescott gets the idea that I can make more. And even more incentive is that the new CBA, collective bargaining agreement, is going to be, in a year or two? So you don't want that also going on when a player can make more money. If you're the organization, I'm going to speak for the organization real quick. If you're the organization, you don't want the player making more money. You want to give him as little as you possibly can. That's their mindset. They want to give him as little as they possibly can so they can spend money elsewhere. But if you're Dak Prescott, tell him to franchise tag you. Because you're going to make a buttload of millions. And then when Mahomes resets the market and the new CBA rolls around and you can make even more money, let the Cowboys lie in the bed you made them. Make as much money as you can. That's always my method. So it seems like, what I'm getting at is, it seems like the Cowboys and Prescott are entering a standoff mode at quarterback that might be a big storyline this offseason as we now transition into this weird offseason flux where will he or won't he? And that'll be a storyline for like a month and a half, and that'll be fun and speculative. Hooray. So it'll be worth keeping an eye on. What will Prescott do? Will he sign a deal? Will he get franchise tagged? All this and that. And that's all I got for news. And as a result, that's all I got for today's show. So on Friday, we're going to have an off-season special where we'll set the stage for the off-season. We'll talk about the draft. We'll talk about free agency. And that'll be our last show for a while because we're going to take a hiatus because football season's over and there won't be anything to talk about. So make sure to tune in Friday where we'll have an off-season special show. And that's all I really got for today. So thanks for stopping by and talk to you Friday. Bye.